Cheers! Welcome to Movie Bitches, episode 116. Tonight we are reviewing The Light Between Oceans. So, The Light Between Oceans is the new Michael Fassbender movie.
Yes, which is the only reason we wanted to go see it.
Pretty much. It also features Alicia Vikander, aka Emily Blunt 2.
And Rachel Weisz, who I love.
Yes.
Who I always love.
Yes.
Even in movies I don't like.
Sure. I didn't dislike this movie.
I didn't either.
I just didn't really enjoy it.
This movie is depressing with a capital D.
Is it?
There's a lot of scenes of her just like sobbing, having miscarriages, being sad, him being sad, Rachel Weisz being sad, crying, just like.
I guess that's true.
I like the first part. So the first part of the movie, Michael Fassbender is just hanging out, tending to his lighthouse, doing chores, and I was like, oh, I could watch an hour and a half of this.
Yep. He literally is painting and watching paint dry.
Right?
Sign us up.
I was like, yeah.
I wish he was shirtless. Would have been better.
Well,
like maybe some army, you know, because he was in World War I.
Like maybe he's just got the pants and the suspenders, but no shirt.
Exactly.
Like it's too hot. You just got. It's like I'm chopping wood. I got.
There's no one else around. You know, why has he got to be all dressed up for? There's no one on this island.
Because he's a proper gentleman.
Whatever. He was alone on that island. I was waiting for some more like alone time. You know, I want to see him. You know.
Yeah.
Feeling his oats. And so then you watch him, and he's like tending the garden, and he's painting and fixing things, and you're like, I am on board for this Nicholas Sparks movie.
Like, yeah, he's fixing stuff. He's got a mustache. He looks like Alec Guinness. It's kind of okay.
It's on the edge of creepy, like, child rapist. It's almost there, not quite.
But then thank God they shave it halfway through the movie.
In a very weird scene.
Very weird. There was a lot of really weird scenes. Okay, so this movie's based on a book.
Right.
That I, based on what was happening and the characters, assumed was written back in the day.
But
based on this sort of hysterical woman tempts a God-fearing, trustworthy man into ruining his own life. Turns out, no, it was written in 2012.
Well, I mean, okay, but the period of itness is accurate.
Absolutely. And
I mean, now the portrayal of women, that's a different thing.
That's what I'm saying. It just felt so dated and like an old story.
I mean, does this story need to be told? Not really.
I was agitated the whole time. I was...
By the portrayal of women.
But by the portrayal of her and the plot and what happened.
Yeah, I guess. I mean...
Were you ever on their side?
No, not really.
Okay, so like what happens is he falls in love with Alicia Vikander. They decide to get married very spur of the moment.
Okay, can we talk about that now? Now...
They've met twice.
If I lived on a remote island and Michael Fassbender showed up, I also would be like, marry me now.
Take me away to the lighthouse, please. Absolutely.
So like,
and it was after the war. All of her brothers, all of her peers are dead.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of choices. I get it.
Yeah.
But it happened so quickly. I didn't ever really get into them.
The only woman allowed on Janus is the keeper's wife.
Then marry me.
I just didn't understand her. Like, that would have been fun if she was fun.
Yeah. I wanted her to be a little bit more like one of like the sisters in Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more flirtatious and silly.
Yeah, you want her to be like Lydia, where you're like, you silly girl.
Yeah, but instead she's not.
Instead she's like Mary, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyway. She can be like Kitty. Kitty's the in-between. She's flirty.
Yep.
She's not a total slut. Anyway, now that we've worked that out, they get married on a whim. They're living on this island.
Yep.
Then she just keeps having miscarriages. And she turns insane.
Oh, the crazy wife made me do it and ruined everything.
Woman, stole my baby. I don't need to hear that story. Anyway, a baby washes ashore in a I almost said a tugboat.
A rowboat.
In like a dinghy.
Yeah.
With a body in it, and she straight up.
He's like, can't we keep it?
Like, can we keep her, Dad? Can we keep her? And they just keep the baby, bury the body. I was like, no. From the get, I was like, not into them.
Sure. Well, you knew that was never going to go well.
No.
It was also just so slow that it was like, I mean, there were a couple times where I felt like I was back in By the Sea.
A little bit.
It wasn't as bad.
It wasn't as frustrating, nearly.
But, it still was, I was just like, is something going to happen now? Because, can something happen? But, could something happen?
I will say this. I was living for all the clothes.
Yeah.
It's just, peasant tops, long skirts, belts, oversized sweaters. Yeah.
Thinking back on the mustache.
Uh-huh.
I want Michael Fassbender to play, a gay leather daddy in the 80s. Actually, you know who I want him to play? This is his Oscar role.
Okay.
Tom of Finland. So Tom of Finland was a, leather gay cartoonist.
Oh, okay.
And would do these drawings and stuff. And it became very famous and very big.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, he ended up, dying of AIDS in, his mother's arms.
I'd watch that movie.
Right? Oh my God. And he would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
This movie really caged him in. It was a lot of him not being allowed to be sexy.
Well, the thing was, he wasn't supposed to be sexy because he was supposed to be, damaged from the war.
Sure, but that can be sexy. I'm gonna fix you. I think there was too much plot in this movie. In a way. I would have rather watched a movie entirely about the first hour of him dealing with his shit on the lighthouse, doing his thing, getting into it, exploring the town. What's this town like? Where are we? It seems kind of cool. Then they gradually fall in love, okay, and then it's that. I didn't need this whole kidnapped baby other thing.
Right.
Plot.
The kidnapped baby plot was weird.
It was really weird. It was like, oh, and then this baby happened to, land. And it wasn't even, I needed her to be like, well, God sent him to us.
Right.
I needed her to go full
I wanted her to be full crazy.
I wanted more of religious guilt and repression of the era, and
Sure.
I needed more of that to
Sure.
sort of explain their actions, and how fucking taboo it would have been in this small town.
Right.
If you're like, hey, this is my baby, I had it, it's great, yeah, we've had her for 4 years, and then to then be outed and be like, we stole this woman's baby that everybody knows.
They didn't even explore that.
She would be the biggest social pariah.
Oh yeah.
Women would have been spitting on her in the street. It would have been fucking crazy.
They would have made her walk naked down the street with a bell. Shame! Shame!
I mean, it would have been nuts.
Yes, it would have been. It was just really long and slow.
It
and
felt like a really, really serious Nicholas Sparks movie.
Yes.
Well,
because particularly, we were checking a lot of boxes off the Nicholas Sparks checklist.
Letter writing.
Lots of letter writing, lots of lighthouses.
Lighthouses. There was a swing.
Yep.
Lots of sunsets.
There was dancing with no music.
Dancing with no music. Picnics outside.
Yep.
It was everything.
It was all of the Nicholas Sparksy things that you would think, but yet it wasn't romantic.
Tragedy.
And it was tragic.
My favorite parts of the movie were when Rachel Weisz was there. I thought she was so good.
Well, she was at least a compelling, you felt something for her.
Mm-hmm. When they did the flashbacks of her and her husband, the German guy.
Do you remember when the movie told us something and then showed it to us 5 minutes later?
I did that a lot. But I liked those flashback scenes because I liked them and their chemistry.
Right.
And I liked him. I feel like I got to know that German guy who's in the movie for 10 minutes more than like the lead.
There wasn't really much dialogue between them. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Give me more dialogue between them. I want to see them really fall in love and really be like, yes, you guys are amazing. You need to have a baby.
I can't
and
wait
then be
till you
like,
guys
oh
have
fuck, they can't have a baby. And be like, oh my god, maybe they can't have a baby.
Maybe they can do this.
Wait, this is so wrong. But like, is it? It just washed ashore from who knows where. That was the other thing. I feel like if it had washed ashore from like a different, like instead of being in a rowboat, because my thing was like, it was very obvious. They're like in the fucking nowhere, right? The only place nearby is this town.
Yeah.
So a rowboat couldn't have come from many places.
Nope. Nope.
Where did you think this baby came from with this dude? And then like, where do you think that...
They didn't have a great plan.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, you don't think that the mom is, if it's not in this boat, isn't somewhere else?
They never even had the conversation of, what do you think happened? Like, what about the mom? What if the mom is alive?
Right. And then she's like, oh, well, they would never let us adopt a child living on the lighthouse, like in the island.
You know, he can switch jobs. If having a baby is the most important thing in your life,
Sure.
he can not be a lighthouseman.
Yeah.
He can go do something else.
He could go do something else.
On the mainland.
And you could adopt that baby on the mainland. Once again, the moral of the story is you gotta fuck Michael Fassbender more and try again for another fucking baby.
I mean, come on! The whole time I was thinking, like, I kind of wish Carey Mulligan had played her part. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Because she was so good in Far From the Madding Crowd, that remake, which you should definitely watch.
It's on my list of things to watch.
It's so good. It's actually really good. And Matthias Schoener.
Matthias Schoener.
Matthias Schoener is in it.
You have to have Matthias. We have to have him.
He's in it, and he's great. And that movie had that push-pull tension, oppressive society, like longing stares across the table where it was like the really good stuff, like Colin Firth like staring at her across the table and you're like, oh my god, I feel everything that you're feeling, yes. And this was like, I didn't get that extra like tension of like, oh my god, I'm feeling his feelings, I'm feeling all these feelings for that.
I think it was in the writing.
Yeah, the dialogue and the characters weren't compelling enough for me.
No.
It was way more depressing than I thought it would be. Bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, because, like, Michael Fassbender as a lighthouse keeper, it's like a fantasy.
But you know what? Yes, it is a fantasy. I still wish that they had shown us more of him as a lighthouse keeper.
Yeah.
Like
working
in his lighthouse. It just felt weird to me because it felt like he was like, I'm 80 years old and this girl's 12. This is weird.
It did feel like that.
It was
instead of him being like, I'm a sexual panther.
Like I'm
going to show you what it's all about.
Yeah, let's get it on.
Let's get physical.
That was not happening.
It didn't happen.
No, he was like, oh, I guess you should take your clothes off now. It was weird. It was weird.
Like they should have been getting weird at the lighthouse. Right? Because like they're away from it all.
Sure.
Nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting them to be more unencumbered at the lighthouse and then, oh fuck, we have to go back to town and like act proper and wear a fucking tie. I was kind of expecting something like that.
Sure.
And that kind of would have been cool. Like little...
Especially him on his own at least.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, you're literally the only person on this entire island. Why are you naked at every moment? Isn't that just what you would be doing?
Cheers to the thought of that.
They surf through this wave of flaming beehive spaceships.